Hi, I'm Maggie Merriman. I'm a professional fly fishing instructor and angler, and I'd like to share with you today some running water techniques. Now, once you've learned how to do the basic casting strokes, you're ready to go to the water. But once you start fishing, you need to know four basic running water techniques. Without these techniques, you're not really going to catch fish. And the idea here is that our flies copy the natural bugs, the aquatic bugs that live down in the water, float up, and then are on the top of the water with wings. Now, our flies are tied artificially by hand. We tie them as close to nature as possible, but we can't get them exact. You can drop a fly in the water and it'll go by and the fish won't look at it. You say, why is that? Well, you probably have drag on your fly. If your fly comes through that area where the fish is and has drag on it, it turns the fish off. And we actually call it a dead fly because it's not floating naturally like nature. So I'm going to share with you some basic running water techniques that you can use all your life, all over the world. They're simple, they're easy, and once you have them in your pocket and own them, they will really help you catch more fish. First of all, we're going to go straight upstream. If I go upstream, I'm going to collect the line as it comes to me. Just before it gets to me, I'm going to lift, can recast, drop the rod, strip line in. Let me show you what happens if I do not strip line in. All of a sudden the line will start bunching here, start floating by me. If I happen to get a fish or something, I'm way back here and I'm out of control. So the whole point here, running water techniques, is have line control, rod tip low, strip line in. And the way I'm stripping line, left hand, one finger or two, it doesn't matter. Strip, 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 strip. And I call this line here, from the reel to my finger, my working line. One more time, straight upstream, rod tip low, strip line in, slowly raise the rod up. Now you can do a nice little cast and go fishing in the same area. Or pick it up, you want to go back to the same area, shoot some line. Now, from up, I'm going to go 3/4. Now some different things start happening because I'm starting to cast over the water. And the water wants to take that line right down with it. So, now do a straight line, point, point. This is basic. Point, point to the line, point, and follow. That would be the end of the drift right there. So on all casts, from 3/4 down, rod tip low, point to the line, and get as long a drift as you can. Now, I drop this in here. The line's going before the fly. That is going to give me drag immediately. So when I see that happen, Maggie says, time to mend. And I want to mend my line before it passes my body. That's kind of a rule, before it passes me. If that line bends and bends and bends, gets down here below me, it's far more difficult to mend and keep that nice drag-free float. So let me show that mend to you. Here we go. Here's the line going before. Pick that up gently. I may want to mend again. Drop the rod, turn your body, don't move your feet. Follow, 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 and you'll get a nice long drift. Let me do that again. Okay. Here, and see this line? That means it's going faster than the rest of the line. I'm getting a belly there. We call it ripping through the water. Now watch this mend. I know it's coming, lift, 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 and I always leave 2 or 3 feet of the line on the water, and that anchors the leader and the fly. A couple other points on that mend. It's a gentle and lifting gently and slowly. High and slow over my head. I want another mend here, current. So I watch the line, I watch the fly, I watch the current, and I let the current tell me what to do with my line. Here we go again. Ready for a mend here, lift, leave 2 or 3 feet out there. Now let me show you the mistake that a lot of people do. There's the line, belly in the line. They rip it out, rip the water, reposition. With this method, you're able to have line control on the water, which is what you want. You will not disturb the water, the fish, or the fly. And you're going to get a really super nice long drift. There's another cast instead of a straight cast that I prefer. Actually, there are 2, and I want to share those 2 casts with you, okay? Number 1 is a reach cast. It's a deadly cast. You end up, after the cast, with the line upstream, above the fly. It gives you time to get the rod and line in position, to point and follow, mend, and get a drag-free float. Okay, let's look at that. Here's a right reach. Gives me time, get in position, mend the line, down low, turn my body, don't move your feet, point and follow. Look at that, nice long drift. There's some drag. Once you get drag, pick it up, it's a dead fly. Do that again. Right reach. Time to get in position. Time to see what you need to do. Mend the line. Point and follow. It's a deceiving cast. I slow the cast up. I open the rod tip pattern just a little bit. Come forward. Reach. And I want to reach and have that line in position before it hits the water. You're going to see the line floating just a foot above the water before it hits it. So slow your cast up, open your loops a bit, gentle, very deceiving cast. Stop, lower the rod, in position, mend, gently, point and follow. Turn your body, don't move your feet, point and follow. Ooh, nice long drift, nice. Stop, stop, wiggle. So from this point down to the water, instead of drawing a straight line for a straight line cast, I am now going to, let me just show this to you, be more graphic. Stop here, wiggle, go back and forth, Z's, all the way down. You can learn to make little Z's, meaning just a foot apart, or you can actually do great big ones, like this. Now this wiggle cast is really good when you have a lot of heavy current between myself and the fly. So sometimes when I come up to heavy current, I say, am I going to use a reach here or a wiggle? And sometimes, if there's a lot of current, and of course you're standing here, a lot of current, quiet water on the other side of the current, that's where the fish is. So I then go to the wiggle, which gives me another option and a little bit more slack for the current to work with. So there. Now I may only get a drag-free drift a foot or 2 or 3 there because of all this current, but at least with one of these casts, I'm able to get on the other side of the current and see if I can enhance that trout and have him take my fly. Now, let's move down to this next quadrant, 3/4 down. That's straight across from my right shoulder to about right there. And again, if I look at this water, I'm going to be casting across water, cross current. So my first choice, instead of a straight line, is going to be a reach cast. Because again, I want you to remember, the reach cast puts the line above the fly. Reach cast, slow the cast down, lazy, gentle, stop, reach, over current, point, lower the rod, point and follow. Maybe a little mend here. Ooh, nice. Nice long drift. Do that again. Going straight across, reach, mend, point and follow. Now if that's pretty much straight across, I'm going to go to this quadrant, 3/4 down. Again, I'm going to use a reach cast. Barely have to mend there, maybe a little mend, point and follow. Get a fish, it's right on. Let's try a wiggle, let's see how that looks. Do a wiggle here. Kind of slow water, don't need quite that much, but you could do it. That much line, but you could use it. I think in this situation, I would opt for a nice reach cast. Give it a little mend, gentle water, no drag. So how do we do that? I'm going to strip some extra working line off my reel here. Get ready. I do a nice little reach cast. Mend. Okay, I want that fly to float further down. I'm going to start flipping the rod tip up and down. Keep a little extra slack always by the rod tip. With that method, I can get a nice long drift. Now when you're finished, you don't want to pick up all that line and cast it, because maybe I want to go back to where I was just fishing. So I'll slowly strip that line in, over the finger, pull with my left hand, okay? Bring the rod back up here, I'm ready. Do a nice reach. Do a little mend there. Get ready. I'm going to start feeding line out. Flip the rod tip, feed the line, left hand to your right hand. Do that again in slow motion. Reach cast, start feeding. Always keep a little slack near your rod tip with the line. So I always have the line holding here. I'm ready to feed it. I'll make a nice O, or you can do this. I think an O's better. You have less drag on your hands. Okay? And I'm ready to feed. 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 Strip that line back up. So, rod tip to the water, come up, friction of the line hitting the water pulls the line. I'm not doing anything then flip, flip, flip the rod tip. I want you to remember everything from my left shoulder, my downstream shoulder, is going downstream. That means I have to be ready to feed line, whatever cast I use, because if I don't, I'm going to get a straight line immediately once the line hits the water. Straight line equals drag on the fly. So my first option here, I'm going to try a slack or a wiggle cast. Get myself a little extra line on the water and begin feeding the minute my line hits the water. Now, how far do you feed downstream? That depends on your eyesight and the size of the fly and the lighting here in the environment. When the point comes that you cannot see the fly, large or small, the dry fly, then that's the end of your cast and drift. Because if you can't see the fly, you can't tell if you're getting drag or not. When that situation arrives, the best thing to do is, if you're able, move down the stream or over to the side. And when I'm out on a river, I am constantly repositioning myself to a better location, better angle, for a better drift. So that is part also of running water techniques. The other cast that I could use here is what I call straight line pullback, and that will create some slack, give me a little bit of time to start feeding the line. 2 stops, come down low, drop the rod, I didn't get slack. Drop the rod quick, get slack, that wasn't good. Downstream. Drop the rod quick, get slack, start feeding. So I want you to remember, you have all these different pieces of pie to fish when you're on a river. Straight upstream, 3/4 upstream, straight across, 3/4 down, 3/4 down, straight down. And for each one of those pieces of pie, you're going to use a different cast. And it all depends on current and the situation that you're in. So the main cast that you really need to know, straight line, wiggle, or it's sometimes called slack, and that's kind of interchangeable, reach, right and left, and the pullback cast for straight down stream. And the running water techniques that you need to always apply for your drag-free floats: point and follow, point, follow, mend, point, follow, mend, and then you can feed from here down, straight across down. You can add feeding the line. We've been casting forward and back. When the wind comes up, and on your drop from here down, it will blow your line right, left, bunch it up, do all kinds of stuff. Because your rod tip is dropping from about 8 feet down. And that's when the wind has a chance to blow it off course. So again, here I've got wind coming from my right shoulder. I will go to what I call high-low. I angle the cast. High, low. Now because the wind's coming from here, it'll open up my back loop and make it look funny, but it's going to help my front loop. And here again, like we worked with current, we're going to work with the wind. So high, low, down. It's a quick cast. You can't do a lot of false casting, because if you do, you're going to tick the water and you're going to spook the fish. So one, remember this, one false cast. High, low, down. High, low, down. Now if I'm facing this way and the wind's coming to me, I'm also going to do high, low, down. High, low, down. Let's say I have structure here on my left side and I can't cast. I can still do my high, low here. I want to encourage you to learn how to cast in all the different planes, because a lot of times you have structure here, you have wind, all kinds of obstacles when you're out fishing on a beautiful stream. And I'll show that to you in a minute. But first I want to show you this roll cast. Let's say I have structure or a lot of wind coming to me. This is how you do the roll cast. Slow up at an angle from my body, dead stop, fast down. Slow up, point your rod at about 1 o'clock, let the line sag behind you, fast down. The technique here is that you need to make your rod tip stop, dead. It's like a train coming forward and then it wants to go back. Well, before it can go back, it has to dead stop and then it can back up. So, here we go. Slow up, dead stop, little angle from your body. If I'm too close, this line's going to come up and hit me in the back or my hat or my head with the fly. So the technique is, bring it up, let me get out here, up to your side, about 45 degrees from your body, dead stop, fast down. It'll look like this if I do it right to you. Slow up, dead stop, straight down. Or left side, slow up, stop, fast down. I come over here, slow up, dead stop, fast down. High, low, fishing it. Got bushes here, you've got bushes in front of you. Things are hanging over. Even then, you're so tight you cannot do a high-low. Remember, over the water, there are not going to be any bushes and trees. So I call this the little donut cast. It's a version of the roll cast. You're going to make a U, I'll do it slowly, with the rod tip and flip the line. Draw a U at your side with the rod tip, flip the line. U, flip. Or you could do a little side cast over the water. Let's say I want to cast that way. Turn your hand, knuckles and reel, face where you're going. Make a little U, flip the line. Comes back down, you can fish that area. Make a U, flip the line. Or, again, sidearm. Sidearm over the water, or you could do a little high-low over the water. And that will prevent you from hooking up, tangling in back and in front. So one of the things that I like to teach my students is learn all the casts and all the angles. Sidearm, 45, over my shoulder, left side, over my shoulder, 45, sidearm. And the best way to learn this is with a short line, not a long line. I also want to do sidearm in front of me, 45, and up higher. The key to learning your casting is practicing at home. Find some grass at a local park or high school. Start out with a short line, and I recommend about, a rod length and a half. There's a rod length from the rod tip. Another half of the rod tip to the end of the line, not the leader. Practice those casts till you own them, till you feel secure, you feel comfortable inside. I firmly believe it's money in the bank. You learn your casting at home. When I come out here to a beautiful river like this, I want to be thinking and concentrating on fishing. I don't want to be worrying about my casting. Well, here we are on a new stretch of river. And again, the first thing I do, I don't step in the water. I'm standing back here. I don't want to spook the fish. And I'm looking up, across, I'm looking down. I'm looking for three things. One, are there rising fish? And if they're rising, that tells me they're eating, and it also tells me their location. Next thing I'm looking for are bugs. Are there any aquatic insects floating down? I'm also looking for likely places where I might like to fish, where I think a fish would like to call its home. And right now I'm not really seeing much what we call activity on the water. Let's see, looking upstream there are three nice big rocks. And below the bottom two, there's a nice little run there. Not a big one, but enough to hold a fish. If I come down here, there's a sweet little riffle, rock, shade, another little pool here. If I come over across midway, nice long run there. Beautiful run. Right in there. And then that run, this is a side channel here, and it's going into the main channel. And where those two meet, they're getting extra water, lots of oxygen, cover, extra food, and nice riffle dropping off that main branch there and some rocks. That really looks fishy to me. So I'm just going to put my rod down carefully here, always leaning it up. Get down, and I'm going to take a look. I'm going to put my glasses on here. Ooh, look at that. First rock covered with caddis cases here. Caddis, all around this rock. And they'll live there for a year, a couple years, depending on which variety they are. And then they'll float or swim up, and then they have wings to fly. And that's called the hatch. That's when we use dry flies. This stage, we're going to use wet flies. So I'm seeing here caddis, mayfly nymphs. I'm not sure what that is. Several varieties of caddis. Here's a worm. So 2 or 3 varieties of aquatic on one rock. I would say this is a healthy stream, non-polluted, with a lot of hatch. So just for fun, let's pick up one more. Let's see what happens. Notice you don't have to pick up big, huge rocks. Same story here. Caddis, tubes. Here's a mayfly nymph, and that's what a copy of our nymphs. There's several here. We don't have a good fly for the growing caddis, but we have an excellent fly, numerous flies for the emerging caddis. Here's a mayfly nymph, and that's what a copy of our nymphs. There's several here. Now that's a growing stage for a mayfly. So wherever I got the rock from, I encourage you, I always try and put it down, face down, where I found it, let it go back to its natural location. The other thing you can do is look back in the bushes. Sometimes in the back eddies you'll find things stuck, bugs that came off the day before or this morning. This is also the time when I'll get my handy dandy little net out and just see if anything's floating by. Some of those insects are so small you really can't see them. Let's see. Well, this morning there's really nothing floating by. So that would clue me in. That would clue me in that Maggie probably wants to start fishing wet. And they're the standard wet flies, soft hackles, nymphs, and streamers. So you have a variety and you have a choice there. I think I'll start with the nymph. That will be my first fly for this morning, until I see things change. If I see a hatch coming up, then I'm going to try and catch a sample and go to a dry fly. So the smart way to fish is be observant. The fish are on top, and you'll know it because you'll see a mouth. You see them eating. If you see them just rolling just on the surface, we call it porpoising. They're eating something right in the 6 or 8 inches from the top down. And those bugs come up and kind of get stuck there. So you could use some small nymphs there, soft hackles, emergers, and then from here down, go to your nymphs, your weighted nymphs, your streamers. Dry fly, we had the line, permanent butt, leader, and we would just attach the fly on the end. In wet fly, the flies are made to sink. You can't see them. So we've developed a whole variety of indicators that you place up on your leader, and this indicator will float on the water, and it gives you an idea where your fly might be. Also, we'll watch it, and if a fish hits, it'll move or it'll go down. There'll be an unusual movement with it. And when that happens, it's usually a fish on the end. And so we'll strike it, and that's why it's called a strike indicator. Now I have here a beaded nymph. And if I find that this, I just have a sense, or I don't feel it bouncing along the bottom, I can add some weight, split shot, above this, one little bit at a time. Of course, if it's gentle water, I'll just do little splits. If it's big water, like over here, it's faster and rougher, I'll have to add more weight. I'm purposely standing back about 8 feet from where I first want to fish because I want to grid this water closest to me, a little further out, a little further out. Same thing, just like dry fly. I also am going to make a little adjustment on my casting because now I have some weight. I have some weight with the indicator right here, and I have some weight because I have a beaded nymph right here. If I throw tight loops, I'm going to get all tangled up. on the line or hit the rod tip. And I don't want that to happen. So there are two things that I can do with my cast. One, I can open the loops on purpose. Keep that weight away from your line and away from the rod tip. So I'm opening my loops. And how am I doing that? With my rod tip pattern. I've been casting at 10 and 2. I'll just open them up about that pattern about 5%. Here's tight loops. There are wider loops. I'm also slowing the cast down. This is not a fast cast. Nice and easy. So open my loop stops, open my loops, come into the water. I'm ready to fish. Now if I had a whole lot of weight, like a great big nymph or a great big streamer, I'll do what I call the slam dunk cast. It's not a very pretty cast, but it does several things. Keeps that weight away from my body so I don't get hooked up here. Keeps it out from the rod tip so it won't bang the tip and break it. And with the weight, you just come out, slam dunk. So it's slow motion here, out to the side, back here, keep it going over my head. You don't stop. Slow out here, give it a good flip. The more weight you have, the more flip you're going to do. I don't have much weight here, so it'll be just kind of a nice little swing over my head. Again, that keeps everything 8 or 9 feet from my body. I get it out where I want. With nymphing, there's several directions you can cast on the river. One is straight across, let it drift through. The other is upstream about 3/4 and let it drift through. I usually don't cast down here because I don't get a very long drift and it doesn't give time for the nymph to get down where the fish are. So straight across or right in this piece of pie, 3/4 up to straight across is really a good angle to land your cast. And then once the line is on the water, you're going to be ready to, again, point and follow, mend when necessary, because you want that nymph to float naturally underwater. Now the indicator kind of works like my dry fly. It tells me where the line and leader are and that the fly is somewhere near that. So once I cast, my eyes go down the line, pick up the indicator, point and follow, watch it, watch it. Again, if this moves or acts funny or I feel a bump, sometimes you'll feel a bump, that means you have a fish, raise the rod tip. So the first thing I'm going to do is cast straight across. Let me see what kind of drift I get. So here we go. Watch the indicator, mend, point and follow, and let this swing. Let the line come around, let the indicator come around, and the nymph will follow behind. And a lot of times, right when that nymph swings, expect a fish. And I can't tell you why, other than I think they see it, and they follow it, and when it does a quick swing, they think it's getting away, the predator instinct comes in and they go, and you've got yourself a fish. Okay, let's try that again. Get your cast out there, mend. Watching the indicator, watch the line, mend again, point and follow, rod tip is low. Again, if I get a fish, all I do is raise up. Not if, when I get a fish, I just raise the rod tip. We'll do that again. Across, mend, point and follow, mend again, Let that line leader work with the current. Natural drift underwater. Okay, try that again. Every time I cast, I have different current, so I'm always ready to correct. And my key is watching the line and the indicator. Okay, I have now cast halfway across this nice run. I want to go further over, and I have two choices. One, I can add more line, or two, I can move my body. So there are two ways to always grid water. Add line, make a longer cast, or if it's comfortable waiting, because I prefer a short line on nymphing, I'll move my body and walk slowly. Remember, I've already fished this water close by, so I won't spook the fish. Sometimes I'll get a nice cast in an area. I'm looking below and I say, gosh, I'm going to let that go a little bit further. I'll feed line in, got extra working line here, feed it into the system, let that nymph go even further down. And then I bring it over to the side, over water I fished, and pull it in again. One more technique for nymphing. Cast upstream, and just raise it every once in a while. As it's coming down. And that makes the nymph go up, sink down, up, sink down, up, sink down. And that's what the nymphs many times do. So you can go straight upstream, collect a little, and then just rise. Just gentle, easy. And I'm watching the indicator. It again tells me what motion or action I'm giving that nymph at the end. Now, just like in dry fly fishing, I'll try a fly for 15, 20, 25 minutes, and if nothing's working, then it's time to change the fly. Now I know there are fish here. This is fishy water, no doubt about it. So maybe I'm giving them the wrong food. So if I have something large and dark, I might go smaller and lighter, like beige or gray. Change your flies. Don't be afraid of doing that. And it means learning how to tie your knots at home. Do that practice at home. So when you're on the stream, you can do it quickly and efficiently, and you're not afraid of it. One more cast over there. I know those aren't real fish. They're Maggie's secret pets. I take them with me wherever I go. They don't have to be fed much. They're low maintenance fish, and they like all kinds of different water. But we brought them out here today to cast to so you could see likely positions where a fish might live. So this is my upstream presentation. I've got a little wind right now, so I'm going to add a little high-low here. Start on the left of that current. Pick up the line as it comes to me, so I have good line control. Slowly raise the rod. Leave about 1.5 rods of line out. Recast. Come down more the center. Same procedure. Strip line in. As the current brings the fly to you. More to the far right. Pick that line up. Slowly lift your rod up. Okay, I've covered that section at about 12.5, 14 feet. I've gridded it left, middle, right. I'm going to leave the same length of line out, but now I'm going to grid and move my body up like 4 or 5 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm steady, I'm balanced over the body. Now I'm ready to do the same thing. And this is covering water, what I call covering water or gridding the water. Start left side again. Strip line in. Got a nice dead drift. Looks good to me. Okay, I'm going to lift that fly up. I'm going to try and go more to the center. I've got a little bit of wind here. That's pretty good. Watching, look at the end of the line, picked up the fly. Got a nice dead drift. Perfect. Same procedure, same technique. Up the center again. Collect the line. Look at the end of the line, look 3 feet, found the fly, good drift. Now I'm going to go start working more over to the right of that. Ah, good, right along the right side. Right on top of him. Okay, that tells me 2 things. One, either that fish is not hungry or he doesn't like the fly. Now if I think it's hungry, I'll stand here and try and figure out what that fish might like, and I'll change flies. If not, if I say, oh, I think this is probably a pretty good fly, I'll move on to the next likely spot. And if I look across the river there, it looks to me like that rock has got to be an ideal place. Always learn to face where you're going to fish. That's real important. Lines you all up. So I turn quietly, look at the situation. Straight line's not going to be a good cast. I'll get dragged right away. So that's got to be upstream with a little bit of a reach. Like right there. Take it, take it, take it. Nope, he didn't like it. I let it, the fly drift past the fish and come in again. Little reach upstream, collect the line. And once the fly has floated past where you want to fish, then you can lift it up and recast. And with clear water like this, and you learn this on the practice field, on the grass, with targets. I'll put tin cans out or frisbees. One false cast. Clear water like this. One false cast. Ooh, right on the seam there. And I'll show you why. 2 reasons. My shadows from the sun is making a shadow. The rod will make a shadow. I don't know if you can see it, but the line will also make a shadow. And if it keeps going over and over the water, it's like birds flying over. Birds are big-time predators to the fish. And they just hunker down and go hide. Also, I've fished this water, so if I walk up here, I shouldn't spook anything. I've fished the fish below the rock, but I think that fish above the rock looks really good. I also know above any rock, the current comes down, goes around the rock. If I'm the rock, current comes down, goes around, and there's a little eddy right in front. It's a good spot for trout to lay. So now it's safe for me to move up. Okay? The other thing when I'm waiting, I take little steps. I get that whatever leg I'm stepping on, get it secure and firm. And I take another step. This way I'm not so apt to fall. Also, let's say I step into deeper water with my right. My left foot has most of my weight. I can back up. So that's something to remember. Not big steps, but little steps. So in this situation, I'm going to be casting straight across a cross current. And I've already decided there's a lot of current between myself and the fish in front of the rock. So a straight line cast is going to give me drag right away. Maggie doesn't want drag. I want a nice drag-free float on my fly. So you kind of stand here wherever you are on the river and think a minute. Analyze. What is the best position for you? What is the best cast in this particular situation? I just noticed I've got some bushes behind me, so I'm going to tilt my cast, tilt my stops, go high-low, right reach, upstream. Oh. Right along that feed line, point and follow. On delicate water like this, it's clear, it's slow moving. If you feel one false cast is not enough for you, to have your confidence and maybe your distance, then let me recommend that you cast upstream away. Do some false casting there. You won't spook the fish. Then when you're ready, then come in and present the fly. Again, drag-free float. Maybe a little min there. So I'll add a little bit of line there. High-low. Reach. Coming right through the middle of that feed line. Now I have to min. Around the rock, down the side of the feed line. Nobody's home. This looks like really nice water up here, but it's really slow moving and it's flat. I'd like to fish that. But before I charge ahead, I gotta look ahead. Here I've got some logs I've got to climb over. Might stumble, make noise, splash around. So I think I'd like to take a few minutes, go to shore, walk up, come around, and come down on this fishing situation. From here down, the water's going downstream. I want a nice long drift with my fly over that fish. So I'm thinking a little quarter upstream with a little bit of reach. Just let the fly, which will enable me to let just the fly go over the fish. No line and just a little bit of leader. I have some structure behind me. And I always check before I cast. Structure, so that means high-low, high-low, give it a reach, point and follow, right over it. I don't know why that fish didn't take the fly. Let's try it again. High-low, a little reach, drop the rod, point and follow. Okay, the fish didn't want that fly at this time, so I'm going to move on to something else. Oop. So I'm going to try a cast, quarter, stream down, and feed. Let's see if I can get anything to come up. It's on the water. The minute it hits, I've got a feed line, feed line. Try again. Little reach cast, feed, 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 feed. Now, let's say I think there might be something right in the middle. As we discussed before, the worst cast for in the middle is straight line. I don't have time to get some slack in and prevent drag. So I have several options here. One, I can do a wiggle cast. Gives me time to get set here, feed some line, let the fly drift down. Now, instead of, let's say I have a feeding fish there, instead of dragging this line and fly straight up over him, I'll purposely put the rod over to the right here, or maybe over to the left, slowly pick this up. Not all the way. I'm going to pick this up, do a wiggle cast, get my slack going, start feeding. Don't have enough line, pull from the reel, let the fly float down over the fish. My other option is a straight cast. I stop in front, drop the rod real quick, start feeding. And when I drop the rod real quick, I'll create slack. Pull back, drop the rod, slack, begin feeding. You can see I'm always ready. Strip that line in. Stop, pull back, drop the rod, ready to feed. So the basic running water techniques that I've shared with you today are good all over the world in any type of running water. I've come here to slow, clear water. Everything moves slower there. You go to faster water or medium fast, you're going to have to min sooner, feed quicker, adjust to where you are. I hope you've enjoyed this, that it's given you some ideas for casting, for running water, for angle cast, for reading the water, how to approach the water. And remember, they're all different departments of the sport of fly fishing. Don't try and learn it all at once. Know that you always can walk up the ladder and learn something new. You know, I've been fishing since I was a youngster. And even today, as much fishing as I've done, every time I go out, I learn something new. Or I observe something new. Or I see something new. I always see something new in nature. And that really feeds my mind, body, and my soul. So when you get into fly fishing, I hope you have a wonderful experience and that you really enjoy the sport. And remember, every once in a while, just stop, look around, look at nature, look at the trees. I mean, right now there's some beautiful lighting all along this bank. A lot of times when the hatch is on, the bugs are floating down, I'll just stop and look at them.